Birds in art are so popular, yet often seem so hard to do. Why is that? I've been painting birds for over 25 years and have found that the simpler I keep them, the better it is. My name's Annika, and I'm here to show you a technique that I think will really help you. It's helped me, and to simplify birds, finding their absolute hidden shapes and painting a lovely, gorgeous Australian Jenny Wren in the process. So let's get cracking.
It's a bit like seeing the 4 presidents at Mount Rushmore, USA, in your backyard clouds. Look at these.
Or seeing what the coffee dregs will reveal. Ooh.
I wonder what our little birds will reveal. Let's have a look.
And the way that I like to do it is by having a real good study of the shapes that they are. And one of the best ways to do this for you and me is to put it into a plastic sleeve like this, and then using a whiteboard marker we can look at the shape and see what the shape means to us. And I'll give you an example. Let's say this was like 2/3 of a circle. You might see that. Or you might see this as like a lip shape. And then a big smile underneath. Whichever way you go, as long as it means something to you. And of course, there's the beak and the eye. We'll go with something. It doesn't matter which one, as long as we go with something. So I'm going to choose points I think I'll be able to read. So I'm going from the tip of the wing. Actually, we'll make that just inside the wing because there's the body like this. So there's that shape. And then halfway here comes the head. The beak seems to come out of this junction here. And then the other half of the bird just comes out the edge and creates a little wing. Then look at this. We could say that halfway through this hump is the tail. And then in a straight line down from the tail, close enough, is the foot. And then this foot is kind of in line with where the tail started. So let's go with that. I like to practice in my Montmartre visual art diary. It's only wood pulp, but the paper works remarkably well and I really love it for practice. And then I'll do one on some watercolour paper. So I'm going for some buff titanium and first doing that shape that looks like a big smile. There we have it. There's a hump for the head and there's even a little beak in there. This hump is going to hump this way, but just protrude out just enough there to create a little wing. The tail, we said, was going to intersect here halfway through the wing. And then the foot is an extension of the tail. And look at that, we have a cute little bird. And then down here, straight down from the tail, will be where the other foot was. Now let's leave that to dry and then we can come over it. Okay.
I'll be using some watercolour pencils dipped in water first to help me work things out. Does this concept of hidden shapes help you? Let me know in the comments what your favourite way of tackling birds is. I'd love to know, or ask me a question and we can expand on that.
It has a tapered diamond shape. That's the area for the eye. The pencil hasn't dissolved much. Now I'll give her an eye. Some colours dissolve better than others. Dipping this one into water, get it started. Now I'm looking at the second hump and coming down to this point, and that's where the darkest little part of the feathers is. So if I coming up like that, and then look at this. If we look at this hump here, we can see that there's a shadowed area coming down below. So then with the brush, put in some markings, and I'm going to wet this as well, just for the pencil to work better. And there we have it. I've put a little bit of raw umber and a little bit of blue to make a grey, and I'm going to put that under here and like that, and underneath the chest, and then blend it out. And if I think it's too dark, I can lift some out, and we have a lovely little shadow. And for the tail, but now most importantly, we can try this on better paper. There's our foot and our other one. Apart from using my Montmartre Visual Art Diary sketchbook, I always use the one with the black cover. That's important. I found the others don't work as well. I'm also using some Bao Hong 300 GSM hot press paper. It's very smooth. And I'm using 2 of Polina Bright's brushes. One is a round size 0 and one is a mop brush size 3. There was no real reason for using these particular brushes on this occasion. I just like them. So any round brush you have will do the job just beautifully, especially if it holds a bit of water and comes to a point. Bao Hong hot press paper, and let's start with the shape, the first shape that we drew, which was a large open mouth smile, or half a circle, or maybe a little bit more than half a circle, like that. And then we can come in with a little bit of raw umber and a bit of yellow ochre. Don't have to overmix them. And halfway to the end, and that'll be for the head. Like that. And then halfway and to the end and a little bit over will be for the back. And then if we have a look here, we can put in these feathers and those ones in there. I've washed my brush and dried it, and I can pick up some of this to create some highlights, which also self-creates some shadows underneath. And now with a little bit of orange, we can put in the beak. First a line, and then the top part of the beak can be left just paint in the bottom half, and only put a little dot on the top that suggests the beak, but it looks like light. And then a bit of a diamond shape there for the eye, and we'll come in with the eye a little bit later. So for the tail, halfway along the back hump, we can put in a tail, and then in a straight line coming right through the bird for his back foot, and then from where the tail starts here, this is where his other foot is. And that was all from our markings on the plastic. So as this dries fairly quickly, I'm taking some more raw umber with that little bit of cerulean, and we can mark in some darker shadows under there and put in the eye with a little gap for the highlight. And a little bit of shadow underneath those feathers. Now what we'll do is we'll wait for this to dry, then we'll come in with some more shadows. Okay, now that that's dry, let's wet the belly and come in with a little bit of raw umber and cerulean blue, which make a really lovely natural shadow colour. And it's at this stage, look at the reference and see how it goes and where the shadows are. And then with a clean brush, we can soften them. And then there's also a little bit on the back of the head, and softening that. And on the back of the wing. And we can add a little bit more depth to those feathers in there. Now we need a branch. We can make the foot just come over like that. Now with that orange and a little bit of brown, let's give the top half of this a little bit of shadow and the bottom of the beak. And then a little bit around the eye. Now let's make this darker still, coming in with the raw umber and some shadow on the branch. And now she really looks a little bit illuminated with the light. And we can lift some of this out, because lifting off hot press paper is really easy. So it's something worth considering if you like painting detailed things. Hot press paper is really good for that.
See these toes here? Being hot press paper and using non-staining colours, it's so easy to lift them out.
And we can lift that one. Then you can maybe lift a few little markings in there. You have to wipe the brush. And with the light coming through there, that means that there would be a little highlight also on the bottom opposite side of the eyeball. And look, there it is. It may be small, but it has lifted the eye. Now, going back to the little wren when it's super dry, I am looking and I'm seeing what I've missed out on. This here is a W shape. Yeah. And again, with this being hot press paper, it's easy to rub out. But look at that. And what about this smile here? Take that away. See the white there? It's a bit like a smile. Even if I just think of it as a smile, close enough, it'll do. But when I think of it as the shape, the name that I'm giving it, then I can actually execute that thing because I'm thinking of it in a way that means something easy to me. And going back to this W here, like this, and there's also this point here. You know, when you're looking at these shapes, you start to see where you've gone wrong, but if you really analyze them from the start, it really does help. So this whole thing here is like a bit of a teardrop in a way. See this shape here? But I think I've gone far enough. I'm happy with the bird, so I'm going to leave it like that.
I hope you got something out of this today, and I do hope that you'll comment in some way to let me know your thoughts. Thank you. And if you'd like to see more on painting and drawing birds, you might like to check this playlist out here. Bye for now.